for the wind, but I'm out here in Kingsland, Texas, and up here up on top of this hill. Man, oh man, that breeze is coming. That got me a nice little view of that. And now there's nothing but rock in this area. It's crazy. Man, look at that. Quite the mess. But here comes the fun. It's that guy right there. Let's go look at that. They said, yeah, cut open, it split open a little bit. Okay, what's a little bit? Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. And not so good. It's a nice one. And it tore on the other side. First time I'm seeing it. Real good for you. That's what they call clean up for me. This is better than nothing. So I'm in for a fun one. Let's see, up here. No, up there. All right. Well, I'm going to see if I can use the machine's hydraulics itself to try and close it back up a little bit. And if not, I'm gonna have to do something. This is not good. That's not good at all. I don't think I'll be able to squeeze it back. Might have to replace the stub piece. So we'll see. I'm gonna get this thing parked out of the wind because it's just way too windy up here. Don't want to start any fires either. So hopefully it doesn't come apart as I'm moving it. All right, thank you. Pretty close. Might be able to get a clamp. I don't know. It's still not gonna be good. Sometimes there's only so much you can do out in the field. The customer didn't give me materials or anything. He said just come out and fix it. So this is what I'm seeing. I'm gonna try and see if get this exactly right where it's supposed to go. Tack it up and get it in place. This looks pretty smooth. It has a little bit of a offset. I don't know if I can straighten that out anymore. So I'm a little bit stuck. So let's see. I'll get this as close as I can, get it back to its original location, and then I'll deal with that issue later. So move it around a little bit more, and we'll just have to get after it at that point. All right. Alright, so I got it kind of somewhat positioned where I'd like to have it. I still got a tiny little gap there. I'm not exactly sure if I can close that up. So I'm kind of stuck at that point. I'm going to try and use my half clamp, my weld-on half clamp. Try and push one side. This side's a little high. Push it to where it meets up a little bit better. Then I may do a little gouging or hammering up here. See if it'll allow this to touch. I've got as much force as I can on it to the left so that it closes up the gap, but it doesn't really look like it's going to help. Not too much more than what it is there. So So my next thoughts are to possibly, after I get that flush, is to maybe tack this here to hold it in position as best I can, and then start gouging this area here. Being that this will be held in place, I will lower the boom to where that's a vertical weld, so it makes it nice and easy, and a gouge nice and easy, and I'll be shooting the sparks hopefully on top of my fire blanket. That thing's all really greasy, so it's quite a mess. Hopefully I don't catch this thing on fire. And then once I get that done, I will stand it up and try and address this issue here, and that way that'll be all a vertical weld as well. And then as it stood up, I will take care of the issue going horizontally that way. So just a little bit at a time. So let me put on that half clamp and see if I can't move it any more to get it a little bit closer. Alright, so that looks like about as close as I'm going to be able to get it. Looks like maybe a heavy 32nd, maybe a 16th gap, maybe a 16th, I don't know. It's pretty close. It's unfortunate I couldn't get it any closer, but it is what it is at this point. And what I will do is probably put a tack in this area here to hold it in place while I gouge it. Or I actually, let me try this first. Let me try gouging it with this clamp, holding it in position, and see if it relaxes some of that material and allows it to get closer. You know, I never know. It's worth a shot. So we'll do that first, and if not, we'll tack it down here. But I think I'm going to start gouging here. I'll try and be real delicate with the gouging at first, because there's a lot of grease down there. Don't want to start any fires, but just to kind of touch on and off and just slowly work my way down and see if this spot up here will allow it to close up anymore. bit of daylight going through there. And actually it looks to be like 7/16 thick. But that's about as deep as I want to go. I'll go a little bit deeper up here. And I hit it with the hammer a couple times, see if it doesn't shake it loose and where it closes up a little bit more. But other than that's about it. Other than that, that's about as deep as I want to go with it. So yep, that's about it. Yeah, deeper here. All right. Okay, back at it again. I think that's pretty close. It's about as good as it's gonna get. I beveled it pretty tight, or pretty deep in there, hoping that I don't bust through. It's an 8-inch rod, so I got about a 16 gap maybe, and I'll do a little whip pattern this way, try and get it to be as flush as possible without busting through. And I beveled it from this top side. I don't really need to do that, but what I wanted it to do is to create some strength. So I will weld it in here. That way when I bevel it from this side, it'll be easier to find the end of the crack, right? So half weld it in here because of the bevel, and I'll make that crack disappear, of course, when I gouge I'll find the parent metal of the weld on that side. If that makes any sense. So I think I'm at the point of welding. These little things here should come off with as I'm welding. About as clean as it's getting for now. Alright, time to weld a little bit. Gonna move it to where it's vertical. Ish. can go a little more. Okay, so I did keyhole it, but that's okay. At least I know I've got 100% weld in there, and I'm able to, you know, do a little whip pattern. And I got that down a little bit. I may actually switch down to a 332 rod. I was having difficulties getting deep in there, so I'll switch down to that, and then I'll do the 1/8 inch on top of that as my hot pass. little warm. You can turn it down an amp or so. I'm a little out of practice. I hadn't stick welded in a while. I get some questions every once in a while about why I do the whip pattern on the way up, and people are concerned that I have maybe entrapment of slag. And while it's true, as I'm doing, like especially in the first pass, as I'm doing my little whip pattern, I do see little specks of slag that stayed there, and instead of grinding them out, the second pass whip pattern does pretty good, because if you're looking at the weld puddle like this, and as you travel up, you'll see those little specks boil out. So that's why I don't run a grinder in there. You'll see them boil out. You step just up forward enough, you'll see the arc cleaning that out, and you come back and add a little dab of weld. The same thing, just keep going up and down, and as you're going, you'll see those little inclusions, to say, you'll see them boil out of the weld, and that's why I don't hardly use a grinder. You got to keep a close watch though, because you know, sometimes you'll go over them if you're not careful. Alright, so I got done with the welding, at least on this part here. I don't want to bore you guys with all the stick welding, because I got more to do. Especially down there. So it's about as good as I can get on this one. Flush. I don't know what I'm gonna do up here. That's gonna be a mess. I I'm gonna actually talk to the customer, see what his thoughts are. I would like to replace this piece, but I don't think they're gonna let me. I'm gonna try probably just grab some clamps of some sort and try and squeeze it, maybe hammer it. I really don't know, but I don't like it. But it is what it is, you know. Sometimes you just have to make it work for a little while. But this repair turned out really well, at least this part of the weld, so that's good. Now I need to tilt it up so I can gouge the underside. So that's next. All right. Okay, so that guy is done. That vertical piece, look at that gap. Good sized gap. Not sure what to do. Either way, so my thoughts here now is to try and gouge in that general direction. I don't like how close this is to the edge here, because it's most likely cracked vertically that way. But I'm gonna have to mention to them to really keep an eye on that, because I'm afraid that side's gonna tear now. Hopefully this will hold for a good little while. At least get them by. You know, this is a tough situation. They don't want to take the boom off, so gotta get it back to work. So no biggie. All right, so I'll do what I can. So I'll gouge this area here. Like I mentioned, in that direction, to try and shoot all the sparks away from this general area, because it's really greasy. Really greasy in these areas. Got my fire blanket here, cover most of it. This turned out all right. Sort of, at least. Oh, gotta keep moving. All right. Here is about ½ inch thick, so I'll just have to remember that as I'm gouging. Not to go too far. little baseline as to seeing which direction the crack runs, because sometimes they don't run directly straight perpendicular to the plate material. Sometimes they'll crack at an angle, and so I was noticing that right in this area. So I'll be able to now start from here, work my way this way, but seeing as how I saw that it was beveling this way, I'll have to scooch it over to the top. I don't even know if that's a word. Scoot it over to the top. So that's the next step. Note to self, don't go that deep. Oh man, I punched through it. That stinks. But it's all looking okay so far. I guess that's as deep as I want to go, because that was pretty good. I'm going to be running stringers on these, so it should be okay. I'll just be careful there now. So that's next, right? Okay, so this one led me all over the place. It was horrible. Turns out there was what's called a laminar crack, and that goes almost in line with the thickness of the material. So initially it started off way down here, but then it just was jetting off to one side, on the upper side. So I had to keep following it. And I got to it, but it's this is probably super thin now. So I may have the same issue that I have here, where I punched all the way through. This is a perfect example right here, where it started going up at an angle, and I had to chase it around that corner. So fortunately, I didn't get too deep on that one. But now it's a matter of trying to make that look pretty. So I'm going to get after it here, just welding it, to clean it up a little bit, and then we'll see what comes of it. Okay, so I've got these two guys done. Not the best, not the worst. I'm not good at stringers. Either way, I forget how many passes I run on there. On the face, there's like 4 passes, I guess, on the face. So I had a couple stringers, 1, 2, 3, and there may be like 9 passes in there, so quite a bit. So it's pretty full. And I got this side done. I already told you that. But now is this. And the customer's in a bit of a hurry, so I may actually just gouge it and weld it as it is. Now I know I'm gonna say he's cheap and whatever else. Oh man, you got to fully understand, these guys sometimes need these things running, and a majority of the other stuff here is done well, so that's pretty good. And if I fill it in well enough, I'm gonna try and squeeze it a little bit, you know, but if I fill it in, I mean, it'll be a solid piece, so it will hold. So that's what I'm gonna do at this point. I don't know that I could bend that by hammering or squeezing too much. I don't have the clamps and the bars and the things I need to do that. I didn't have any photos to reference, so I'm kind of stuck myself. So I don't know that he's got the time for me to cut this here and up here, put a new plate. He's pretty good about letting me do what I want to fix it correctly. Some of the other machines I fixed are very similar to this, where they have patch plates, not patch plates, but I've cut sections out, and so that's what I would do in this situation here. Cut the top half off all the way across, but then that involves moving the lines, and it's just a lot of work. So this will do for now, and I understand. So not much left. I blended into edges here because this is probably where a lot of the stress is going to be from the twisting, and so that I made sure is kind of nice. This will be just a pretty much standard fillet weld. I'm going to try and close it up a little bit because, man, that's a big gap. That's probably about 3/8 right there. I don't know that I can, but worth a shot with the tools I got at least, and then it'll be done. But overall, not bad. It's, wind died down a little bit, which helped me a lot. I was worried about all the sparks catching this thing on fire, so I'm downwind of it actually. And I'll put my fire blanket right in this area to keep it from falling in the center. Thanks. So, all right, next step. Now I'm fixing to gouge this off. Try and start about 1.5 inches or so above this line. I'd like to normally go past the crack about 1.5 inches or so, that way get the original parent metal, and I'll wipe this smooth here. I may leave some of this original weld to help me out to fill that gap. I will know as I'm gouging, because sometimes you'll see some cracks and things come out of the weld, so you'll be able to tell whether it's good material or not. Same thing with pinholes. Sometimes you'll see pinholes show up. It's just the way it is. And so if I can leave some of this here, that'll help me with a couple of passes of weld actually, so that may save me a little bit of time. But this, I want to at least get flat as possible and open up this down here, so that doesn't have any gap to just pour. So here we go. Alright, so clean that up a little bit. That should be enough. I know it's not consistent, but it will be fine. As long as I'm consistent when I'm filling it, then it'll come out alright. one of the things I like to do in a situation like this, where there's even a gap in a plate like this, where one ties into the other. If there's a gap in this area, I will concentrate my heat on the solid piece here, create a weld puddle, and then kind of loop over to it almost like a backwards J, and that way all the heat gets soaked up into this piece rather than the edge of this piece, because you can melt it away if you're not careful. So here we go. This first weld pass will be a little cold, so I can kind of bridge that gap. Eventually the plate will get hot by itself, and so I may turn the amperage up a little bit, or this may be all right. But my main goal of this pass right here is to seal it. Finally got it filled up. Sorry about that noise, but finally got it filled up. It's not that pretty right now, but I was able to bridge the gap and close it all up. On some spots I had to put a second pass, and hopefully this will be the last pass that goes over it. And one of the things to keep in mind is that this edge here is my constant, meaning that this is the edge of the factory plate. This pulled away, so I will need to make sure that I have a nice line on this side here, because I want enough weld material on this plate as well. And then whatever, if I can remain constant here, whatever goes over this way, it'll actually just attach to that side, so that'll be fine. So hopefully I can do that for you guys, and hopefully I can make it look a little bit better, because that's not pretty. All right, here we go. running out of a SD card, so I'm gonna put this on fast forward hopefully, and hopefully I have enough room. All right. So just brushing it up. It should work. Not the best, not the worst. It is what it is, right? As I was mentioning, this one side is the constant. That way I didn't have enough weld material on here, and whatever I needed to bridge over this way, well, it's pretty consistent right here as well. So it'll hold from there. And this stretched out area is like the new normal now, right? So it creates its own strength from that point forward. Although it's stressed up in there, but that's the way it goes. So unfortunately I wasn't able to replace that plate like I thought I would. But this will hold, so that'll work for now. And it'll hold till it breaks. And so thanks for watching. Hope you learned something from it. This is not a how to do it, it's just a how I did it. So again, we'll catch up with you guys later, and we'll see you on the next one.